Hello, everyone. Let me first thank OIS. I want to thank you and congratulate you. I love this meeting. I went to the very first one. I've been going ever since, so I guess 13 years ago. And I'll never forget that meeting because it really struck me as truly an innovative meeting. I loved the structure of the meeting, and it actually was my inspiration to start Glaucoma 360. This will be our 13th year as well, so thank you very much for that. I'm Adrienne Graves. I'm former CEO of Santen, Inc. I'm on a number of corporate boards, public and private, and until just recently, I was chairman at Iveric until it was acquired by Qlaris, which I think was a wonderful event, not only for the team, but I think for ophthalmology in general. And I have a stellar panel here today. We've heard from Dr. Weinreb, what a fantastic presentation, and I don't know how you fit all that into 7 minutes. But thank you very much for that. I think he certainly didn't brag about himself enough. He's very humble despite all his many contributions to glaucoma and beyond. And he didn't mention that in addition to being a distinguished professor and chair of UCSD, he also built and directs world-class institutions, Shiley for patient care, and Hamilton for research. I'll let the other two, we have a really stellar panel here. I'm going to let the other two introduce themselves. So, Tomas.
Thank you so much, Adrienne. I'm Tomas Navratil. I'm Chief Development Officer at Glaukos, where I oversee research and development across our portfolio of pharmaceuticals, medical devices, and drug-device combinations. And thank you so much for having this panel.
Thank you, Adrienne, and thanks, everyone, the OIS organizers, for inviting me. So, Barbara Wirostko, I'm a glaucoma specialist. I am the Chief Medical Officer and founder of Qlaris. We're working on small molecules to reduce episcleral venous pressure. We're currently in the clinic. Came out of Mayo, and I'm also the co-founder and medical advisor for a company called MyEyes. And I have an adjunct appointment at the University of Utah, so I still see patients and do research.
Well, thanks to all three of you for being on the panel. I'm going to start by asking you about the presentations, the glaucoma companies that just presented. I'd like you each to kind of give me your impressions on what you found particularly innovative in either in adding to patient care or just innovation in general. So we'll just go down the line here.
Thank you, Adrienne. I would like to highlight, I think, VLS for the innovation in generating new incision-free therapy, and I think it will benefit patients. There's a long-term efficacy. There's a great safety profile, and I think the only concern is the cost of the capital equipment with the femtosecond laser. I think also the second product that really caught my attention was the diuresis gene therapy for IOP lowering. I think the efficacy is terrific. I think the duration and longevity is really promising, and I think it's really would be exciting to have a gene therapy for glaucoma. Thank you.
Yeah, Thomas, I think you mentioned all the key points, and of course we need data from randomized controlled trials. The other thing that we need is not only data from short-term trials, but we need data from long-term trials because is the effect going to be sustained?
And I would, again, I guess, say essentially the same thing. You know, I think one of the things we all hope for is for better ways to maintain and sustain IOP lowering. One of the things that I've been seeing is that, and so often we actually do have a lot of spikes, and this was brought out beautifully by iMate. a lot of patients are not being controlled, and I think a lot of these invasive procedures and hopefully some of the gene therapies can actually reduce that fluctuation and maintain a longer IOP over time. And I do agree with Bob, we need long-term trials to really measure the outcomes.
Yep. I think, one of the things that Dr. Weinreb mentioned in his talk is reimbursement challenges these days. So I wanted to ask you each what you thought, certainly for the MIGS procedures, but just in general, how that's affecting new drug development.
So on the reimbursement front, I think for the MIGS landscape, we've had some recent developments where there have been several MACs rulings, initially impacting the coverage of canaloplasty, for example, that was ruled by WPS as a not covered procedure that was declared experimental in glaucoma patients over the age of 18. And I think we have a generally lack of alignment between the payers and between the FDA, wherein, for example, FDA requires a 1-year efficacy trial with a primary efficacy endpoint, IOP lowering at 12 months. I think the MAC's ruling, for example, highlighted that they require 2 years of data. So there's a lack of alignment that ultimately impacts coverage and availability of these products for the patients. And I think it also limits the clinicians' choices as to being able to select the best treatment for their patient because of this lack of alignment. So I think it's a challenging landscape, and we continue to battle it.
Thomas, you're so knowledgeable about the space, and I'm wondering, where did this come from? It really came out of the blue. These procedures are being performed safely and effectively by glaucoma surgeons and others. And one day you wake up, you open your email, and you see this furor. Any idea where this came from?
I think looking at what we do as an advocacy, I think we can perhaps do a better job as an industry collaborating with the medical societies and advocate better with the payers, with the MACs jointly to prevent surprises that just occurred. But this is still an ongoing process because there was another ruling by NGS, another MAC, that temporarily extended the coverage, and then they withdraw the notice as of this Monday. So it's an opaque process, and I think by working together as industry and medical societies and the treater community, we can enact better decisions on the part of the payers.
Do you think that this means that every company has to be more careful about the data that they're providing to the FDA and performing longer trials and making it more onerous for companies to bring products to market?
I think you're absolutely right. I think nowadays when we consider a pivotal program for medical device or pharmaceutical, we not only have to consider what the FDA, whether it's CDER or CDRH, Dr. Chambers or Dr. Edelman would approve, but we also need to look at what the payers actually require to cover the product. And so, for example, we will consider conducting 2-year trials as a standard given this MAC ruling if it remains permanent, requiring 2-year efficacy evaluation for the MIGS.
And I think, Tomas, too, I mean, again, you are, an expert in this area with your MIGS, devices, but isn't it true, too, that the reimbursement also varies not only for drugs and devices, within the US, but then also within other countries. So then you almost need a different strategic plan, perhaps, in different countries. And a regulatory approval also doesn't ensure a reimbursement plan.
Completely agree, Barbara. I think when we consider launch of the product globally, and Glaukos is in 17 markets worldwide, we very carefully consider the order launch and whether to go into certain countries because of the comparative pricing. So I think you're absolutely correct. The global considerations impact how we launch products and whether to launch a product in a country or not.
Yep. Well, I'm going to make an executive decision. This is an amazing panel, so I'm going to ask them one more very thought-provoking question so we can wrap this up to allow the other session to complete before we cut too much into your cocktail hour. So as a final question, what do you, tell us about something that you know is under development, could be even preclinical development or past that you think will add the most to your ability to manage patients? Start with you.
So I will highlight two products that we have under development at Glaukos, and we have a PDUFA date for iDose on December 22nd of this year. iDose is a microscopic implant that delivers travoprost for up to 3 years intracamerally after single dose. And we are very excited, and we hope that this year Christmas comes 3 days early. And the second product I would like to highlight is our neuroprotection program that potentially has a neuroprotection and also neuroregeneration potential. And that's in collaboration with Stewart Pharmaceuticals. This deal was just recently disclosed. And I think the neuroprotection in glaucoma is the next mecca that we need to aim for, jointly collaborate industry, medical community, investigators, so that we can do better for our patients. So two highlights: drug delivery with single dose delivering multi-year efficacy, and neuroprotection so that we don't have to lower IOP anymore.
Yeah, I agree with both of those. And neuroprotection is the most exciting thing. But I'm thinking a little more near term, Adrienne. I'm thinking that everything that we heard today, all the products that we heard today are great because we're getting more and more data. And I think in the near term, the ability to collect the data, aggregate the data, analyze the data with artificial intelligence, deep learning strategies, and bring the data analytics to the patient and to the doctor in a usable form will transform the practice of glaucoma.
No, and just to add on to that, and Bob, you're so absolutely right. I always tell my patients that glaucoma really is a wastebasket, and we dump everything into it. But the genotypes and the phenotypes between patients is so different. And until we have that type of data where we can actually look at each individual patient and personalize it, I think we are not really we're not offering patients probably yet the best care we can. And I really look forward to when we can really personalize and really understand fluctuation as well. Not all patients fluctuate, but some do tremendously. What's different about those patients?
Thank you all. How great were they? Thank you very much.